Welcome to Idea Citizen. Today I'm speaking with Phil Portman, the CEO and founder of Textdrip, about the next generation of communication, including AI assistants, chatbots, and SMS. Phil, if you could maybe just give the listeners like a quick introduction to yourself and we'll jump into everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Phil Portman, serial entrepreneur, everything from tech company like Textdrip to a horse farm. I'm kind of all over the place with that. But we started Textdrip in 2019. Saw that most communication platforms out there were very email centric, and they kind of threw on texting as this afterthought, and it felt like an afterthought. And we said, wait a minute. All of the research shows us that texting is the best form of communication. It's the most preferred way of communication. So we built this platform, and we're now across 3 continents. We employ over 70 people, and it's been quite a cool journey.
I mean, so I feel like the sexy word these days is AI, really. I was thinking we could maybe, this wasn't in the outline, but right before getting onto the call, I went on Copilot, which is probably my preferred AI tool. And I wanted to go through maybe just like rapid fire on misconceptions about AI chatbots and assistants.
Yeah, just give my thoughts on like chat and AI and all that.
Well, just like rapid fire on this, and we'll go into like the regular outline. And honestly, we'll see how this works. And if it doesn't like fit, then I'll just cut it. But I thought it might be fun. I was like, all right, let's change it up a little bit. Uh, AI can think and feel.
AI can think and feel. As far as we know, not yet, right? I don't know. There could be some stuff out there that is changing that. I'm really interested to see what quantum computing does because it's quantum computing. I'm not sure if those have been following it, but it takes the processing that computers do to a completely new level. It's like we're kind of going up this path and then it shoots up with quantum computing. And there's some amazing things going on with that. But AI right now is just getting really good at replicating human language. I think that would be the correct way of saying it. There's some amazing things that we're being able to do now because the computing power today and the GPU power is fast enough that we can handle pulling multiple data points so that it looks really smart, but it's really more or less replicating human data and what it was trained to do. It's just much more believable than it's ever been before in the past.
So AI always provides accurate information.
Absolutely not. There's hallucinations with all of the AI right now. There's entire companies built around cleaning up hallucinations. So
Oh my God, I
definitely
love
not
that
always
terminology,
fact check information.
hallucinations. It's so
Yeah, and that's
accurate
actually
with
what
the
it's called in
ridiculous
AI is
responses you get.
hallucinations.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
AI replaces
Yep.
human jobs completely.
No, and one thing if we found with technology in the past is it actually creates more jobs. The problem that we have right now is that we're looking at jobs in the past. We can't predict jobs in the future. So no, I think it's actually going to open up more jobs in the future.
Yeah. AI has no bias.
Has no, what was it?
Bias?
Bias. Absolutely. Everything on the internet has bias, and please understand that. It's literally being trained, like if you're using ChatGPT or Copilot, it's being trained on you and the way you think, which leads to a lot of problems that we're having right now in the world when you look at like the political environment and all that stuff. When everything you have is an echo chamber around what you're looking for, it doesn't allow for diversity of thought. And that's something that we consciously have to seek. Get outside of your little world. And unfortunately, the way AI is designed right now, it's very biased to you and what you want to hear.
Yeah, I agree. AI can solve all problems. This is literally from Copilot. I was like, what are the common misconceptions? I'm like, let's see what it says. So, can AI solve all problems?
No, AI is again just a tool. So it's an educational tool. It can pull facts, it can pull research, it can compile information better than in the past. But once again, it's typically pulling information before in the past. Now, with the advances in computing, we're going to see it start solving more problems in the future, like medication or maybe some green technology, or maybe help us become multi-planetary, like Elon Musk is trying to do. But currently, no, it's primarily providing information that we've already detected. Now, there are some cool things that it's done. I had an MRI last year, proactive MRI, and in 2 days it had done an entire analysis of my body and gave it back. And AI has gotten so good at reading x-rays and MRIs that it's surpassed humans at this point, which is pretty cool.
Interesting. I have questions to that. AI is always secure.
No, and I would say that they're training their data with what you're putting into it. So be careful of that. Be careful of using some of your customers' information inside AI as well, because you are sharing it as part of the terms and conditions for using AI. You're sharing it with whoever, whatever product you're using it for. So there are some heavy privacy concerns with that.
AI is fully autonomous and AI can replace human interaction.
No, definitely not. Once again, AI is a tool, and you can tell when things still today are being written by AI. And I'm actually looking for in communication, when I'm communicating with somebody, I'm looking for their touch in it. I'm looking for mistakes to happen. And I'm looking for that because it means I'm talking with, at least right now, a real human. I dread the day when we can no longer tell that it's complete human, because then I feel like we're all in a simulation at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Some may argue that we are currently, but we won't go down that
Very well could be.
path. um, so you touched a little bit on the past state of communication with a little bit more like email functionality. Big picture, like where has communication been? I guess historically, let's call it like, I don't know, past 20 years, like there's been so much change to like traditional, like let's say traditional tools versus modern tools. Like what are you seeing? Like what is coming, or what do we have today that really people should be taking advantage of?
Yeah, I love this question. In the past it was phone and email were heavy forms of communication, dial phone. And nowadays people don't really use their phone as a phone majority of the time. We're using it for texting, looking things up, and communicating with people through various social media apps or through texting. Something that occurred over the last 10, 15 years, really when smartphones started coming out, was every company had to have an app, right?
Oh my God,
And
too many apps
along the
at
way,
some
we all
point.
started filling up our phones with apps, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, do I really need like a McDonald's app or a hotel app or whatever those other ones are? And the reason they wanted to do it was they could push notifications directly to you through communication. So that we kind of saw this surge, but then over time people started getting burned out by the apps, and they really only wanted apps that were necessary. Like I want my Uber app so I can go travel places, or I want my credit card app so I can look at my purchases, things like that. But if it didn't have a use for mobility, we didn't want to add the app in. And so we're starting to see text messaging really take off in the absence of push notification again, because everyone still has the ability to receive a text message. So rather than installing an app from your business, I'd be more apt to enroll in some early promotional communication or something like that through a text message, because I'm still going to get that instant deliverability that push notification gave me, but I don't have to install another app on my phone.
This is the challenge
And so
though.
that's kind of what we're seeing. Sorry, go
The
ahead.
challenge even with some of that stuff, those that like now everybody wants to send you text notifications. And so for me, I've personally, I'm like, I can't, it's like, it's a little too much. I literally have my Google Voice phone number, which is my old phone number, and I give them that phone number. So it's accessible and I can go opt in to go look at it. But um, it works because it gets through like the little text filters and everything. And I go find it. But sometimes like some of these brands, like, no, I don't want to hear from you every day or every other day. Like, I don't want to hear from anybody in my life every day or every other day, except for like five people max. It's a little much. It's like I think everybody ends up jumping on this bandwagon. And to your point around push notifications through the apps, I remember there was a period of time, gosh, it was like I think it was 2019 that or 2018 that there was also this functionality within like your Chrome browser that like a website that you visited, like you could opt in to receive kind of push notifications through your web browser of some sort, and ultimately maybe that also played into like it being an application. So there was like all these like there was like all these opportunities to like, hey, hit your people somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So to go back to the notifications, you can absolutely do any form of communication wrong, especially SMS. So the problem with what you're describing is that people overuse SMS or use it for the wrong purpose. When you're looking at an omni-channel solution, email, social media, other forms of communication still have their place in the overall strategy with texting. So with email, when you're sending out large content, information, regular communication, newsletters, those are all great things for email, not so much for texting. Texting is more specialized service, communication, updates, notifications, flash deals if there's something different going on. But your flash deal can't be every day or every Monday or whatever, right? It needs to be a specific situation. So, absolutely, you can overuse or misuse texting just like you can misuse email. I don't think email is great for immediate responses, right? Back and forth. That's not really what email is designed for. It's more of a mail replacement or a newsletter replacement. So each one of these technologies has its different places. One of the things that's changed is how 10DLC communication is doing.
Okay,
And so you're going
so
to
slow down
see,
because like what is okay, so let's stop there real quick. 10
yeah,
DLC. Okay, we
yep,
gotta define what that is because I have absolutely no idea.
absolutely. Let's dive into it. So in the past, texting for businesses was supposed to be done through short codes or 800 numbers, not 10-digit long code. And that's what 10DLC stands for. 10-digit long code is your mobile cell phone number. That's a standard phone number. A lot of businesses want to use their business phone number, their local business phone number. If I'm located in Michigan or California or wherever, I want to use a local area code so that I can seem more personalized with my customers, especially if I'm in like real estate or insurance or something like that. So they didn't really have rules or regulations for how business texting was supposed to be done until 2019 when they started rolling out some rules and regulations. Prior to that, it was kind of the Wild West, and you'd get a lot of random text messages. You may have gotten text messages from overseas scammers, right? Saying, hey, free Walmart gift card, enter your social security number here, or hey, this is UPS, I got a package for you, log in here, or whatever that was, right?
Yeah, I got
Well,
two of
they've
those this
cleaned that
morning.
up with this registration process. So it has cleaned it up. And one of the things that they're requiring is follow through on opt out. So if you have any of those text messages that you're like, you know what, I don't need daily reminders of this, all you got to do is reply back with stop or end or one of the opt out key phrases they provide, and you'll no longer get communication from them.
And so 10 DLC is it's really like like they just want to make it seem like they're local to you, similar region, but I've also been seeing from a texting standpoint, was it like 8-digit codes that you're getting numbers from or getting text messages from, which I don't know how that works. And I don't even know the last time I've seen an 800 number come through, but is I guess I don't know what questions I have here, but I guess maybe the one that kind of comes to mind is the 800 number even a thing anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just got a text message recently from an 800 number. Yeah, so they're 833, 855, anything that starts with an 8, and it's a toll-free number.
Okay.
So there are still companies that do it. Not as much because it is typically more expensive to message through 800 number. Short codes are primarily used for like account notification or verification. They're not really used for two-way communication. Toll-free number or 800 numbers are or 10DLC are designed more for two-way communication.
And recently, like I've actually been interacting with a chatbot, and I'm actually surprised at how well it works. It's actually through this kind of health and wellness program. So there's been this incorporation of texting and chatbots and AI, ultimately kind of all of them coming together. Have you seen some companies doing that like really well?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I got to toot my own horn here a little bit.
Do
So
it.
we
Go
we
for it.
developed a product. We developed a product called Positive Intent AI, and it's a model that's trained to understand the intent of a conversation. So what we're seeing moving forward with communication, especially with AI, is that people are looking for more personalized communication. They want you to start moving away from the using these keywords for responses. I don't know if you've ever tried to deal with I'm going to call them like a legacy, it's an IVR is what it is, but it's keyword based, right? Where it says, oh, sorry, I don't understand that. You have to
Are you
respond with
asking
these
about
keywords. Yeah, you have to respond with this keyword. I don't understand that. It needs to be this. Well, with AI, we're moving into a direction where you can speak freely with that chatbot or AI driven chatbot, and it will understand the intent of what you're trying to say. And with positive intent AI, we understand the conversation using our own trained model. So if you respond back with, yes, I need a house, but I don't need anything until the end of June when I'm going to be looking or when I sell my current place, right? The system needs to understand that that means that you're still interested,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And move forward in that process. Whereas the old system would say, sorry, I don't understand. Reply with yes or no, right? So intent based systems can understand the intent of it. And that's really what we've developed inside Textdrip is to understand that. Now, there's a flip side to that too, which is also the opt out, which you talked about. So to opt out with most systems out there, you have to opt out with a keyword like stop and unsubscribe, things like that. The problem with that is you can't say stop texting me. You just have to say the word stop on most other platforms. In TextDrip, we also have an intent based opt out where it understands that no, this person doesn't want to get communication from you anymore. They want to be taken off your list. That's important to protect you, our customer, from any legal problems. And in April, they're potentially going to be rolling out a new law to make that mandatory for all companies. That even if the customer messes up the keyword to get them out, you still have to comply with that opt out.
Oh,
And
that's
that's when an
interesting. That
intent
can be a
based
heavy
AI.
lift. Yeah, that can be a heavy lift for some organizations, depending on like you're like, hey, little scrappy, small, Main Street America business. Um, okay, so the system needs to be able to respond or at least understand intent, or at least what you're talking about to some capacity. My question to you is, with these chatbots, is it? How do I phrase this question? What I'm trying to understand is that if the question is facilitated by, say, me, the end user, to a chatbot versus the chatbot preemptively asking me a question like, does it work better in one scenario or another? Because, so where I'm going with this is that if the AI chatbot preemptively asks me a question about something, then it's already kind of categorized or at least like benchmarked it into some sort of category world, whatever. Like, for example, my health and wellness thing, it's like I have to check in daily, and it's like it's called Better Health, and it's like I click on it and it puts me into the system, and they start asking me questions like, hey, how much sleep did you get last night, da da da, this and that. So they're kind of owning that conversation, and I'm providing the inputs and responses. But if I were to potentially, and I haven't tried this, say go on a website and unknowingly am interacting with the chatbot, I mean, case in point, some of your examples earlier, I'd be like, hey, like Amazon or whoever it may be, like, I'm having an issue with my order. This is the order. These are the details. I anticipate that there's more chance for issues when I, as the end user, start the conversation versus if the chatbot actually starts the conversation, because the chatbot ultimately is kind of owning it and like navigating that conversation a little bit. Whereas I think humans, we're not
Yeah.
always the best communicators, even though people are like, I'm a great communicator. You're like, no, you're really not. And then you also look at the difference of like how people actually speak versus how they actually text or write. There's a different protocol that, like, as a society, I think we've accepted. And I think that we're a little messy. And I can't imagine how that's helpful to chatbots understanding our complexities.
Yeah.
Do you feel like chatbots work better when chatbots start the conversation,
Yeah.
or can it do a decent enough job when a human starts the conversation with it?
Yeah, so you're talking more of like a closed model where it's initiating the conversation and kind of funneling you down a path,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the easiest path for a chatbot. And there's kind of three different buckets that we do with texting communication, right? There's chatbots, and they're great for like routine or repetitive. Can't say the word, but
Repetitive.
repetitive. There you go. Repetitive tasks, low complexity, like follow this or that, right? And it's kind of making decisions and following down a path. And that's how most chatbots work, right? Is just a very simple path, and it's clean, it works, and it's great for situations like with what you're doing, for information gathering and that sort of thing. AI is a little bit more complex, and AI can offer a more personalized experience. It can pull from different data points. It can be very data driven in the conversation, but it works best when the model is trained for that specific task. So, what you're finding a lot of times nowadays is AI driven models are actually using a large language model like ChatGPT or Gemini or one of those, and they're trying to use that for their program, and it doesn't know that enough about their information to provide accurate information, so it'll sometimes send hallucinations, right? Whereas when we train a model internally, like we do in Textdrip, that's all it knows is texting conversations. All it knows is the information that we fed it, which are the business interaction that your customers are having. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
it does.
the AI needs to be trained specifically to that model. And then the other part is there's still a need for two-way communication. There are times where customers still want to build relationships, or they have too complex of issues for AI or chatbots to handle, and they want that human touch. I have an example where I was trying to sign up for a service and their registration process was broken, and they wanted to send me through a help ticketing system, but I needed to register in order to do that, and I couldn't do it, nor could I even let them know that there's a problem with their system because they had no human person to interact with. So I still do think, at least this day and age, there is still a need and a business reason to have humans still interacting with your customers.
I'm absolutely there with you. I find it interesting recently this advent of, and I only know it from like clickbait online. So like I'll start there with like from a little bit of a distance, but uh this whole, how do I say, like chatbots as like companions and friends, like this kind of world of like chatbot world. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I don't. So my question is to you, with these unforeseen new and emerging kind of businesses being built out of AI and chatbot functionality. I guess like, are you as a as a person, human? I believe you said you have kids. Like as a father, are you excited for these things coming out, or do they kind of raise alarm bells for you?
Both, right? I am very much somebody that focuses on balance. So, as much as I love technology and I'm excited for it, I'm also concerned about it. I fully embrace AI and technology, and I have like the newest, greatest thing. I had that robot that Amazon made called Astro. I bought that thing like immediately when it came out. Like I love technology,
You're the guy. You're the
but on
guy
the
that buys those things.
I am. I'm the early adopter that's going to test it out. But on the flip side, I have all of the notifications turned off on my phone. Like you can't make me your emergency contact because I won't answer my phone. I don't want my technology to control my life, right? My office is at my horse farm so that I can get out and walk around the property and get away. So the thing we talk about with my son is you need to have balance. Yes, you can use it to do amazing things, and it can improve your quality of life by potentially taking off things that you don't want to do or automating tasks and things like that. For me, it's like writing long emails or research papers and things like that. It can handle that type of stuff. But at the same point in time, I need to have balance in my life and still have that human connection. Social media connections, they're not real connections. Face to face interactions and connections are. I
Yeah,
kind of liken it to, back in the day before processed sugar, the thing that was sweet was fruit, right? You rewarded yourself with fruit. But now that we have processed sugar, we look at candy as the sweet reward, whereas fruit is almost the healthy thing we eat nowadays, right? Well, it's the same thing with like technology and social interactions. We look at that and say that's real life, but it's not. it's all fake. And like I said, we can still have it and be involved with it, but we need to have those real interactions and that humanity to really enjoy a balanced life.
To disclose, I did actually make the outline for this episode through Copilot. I was like, hey, Copilot, build me out a podcast outline for the future of communication, blah, 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 like the working title we've been working on. And I don't feel bad about that at all, but it kind of gives like a framework, but ultimately the substance is actually built out through this conversation here. And I imagine if it was AI fully having this conversation, it would just be a flurry of, as you call it, like hallucinations. It's like, would it make sense? And granted, I sometimes don't make sense as well, but like in a different way. But I do think I love the functionality of it. I love that what it's brought. I do as well. I'll echo your points regarding just future generations in terms of their reality of it's sometimes challenging to tell if you are communicating with a chatbot. It's done so well, and it's like, let's not get that mistaken with real world connections. And maybe you don't want to operate in the real world. Maybe you want to potentially there. We've had The Sims, we've had that, was it Third Life or whatever it was called back when. People have regularly opted to engage in a different kind of, I don't want to call it lifestyle because I don't know if it's a lifestyle, but like engage in the world in a different way. And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong about that. It's a choice. But I think if you're opting into the choice and understand that there is in fact a human or another person at the end of it, that it is in fact a computer, as long as you know it, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's a problem when you don't know.
Absolutely. And I think especially for like elderly, companion robots in the future and things like that, I think would be incredible for their life experience. And I don't think there's any problem inherently wrong with that. But I think it's when your environment starts controlling you and becomes an addiction that it can really start to become a problem. And you already look nowadays and you see people like staring at their phone. What happens when the people that you're talking to on your phone aren't even real? They're AI and things like that, and they're literally telling you and responding to you in the way that you want to hear.
Hmm.
Well, that doesn't challenge that diversity of thought that we talked about. It continues to polarize your views, and those are concerning to me. I'm somebody who I want to talk to somebody with a difference of opinion because it's going to help challenge me and help me grow. And that's hard to do when you have something that's telling you exactly what you want to hear. And that's really what the internet as a whole is right now, unfortunately. Your Google search for the same phrase is probably entirely different than my Google search. It's going to give me a different response based on my history. And it's the same thing with chatbots today, unfortunately. They're all regurgitating the same information before. So it's just something we need to be aware of and I think put boundaries on.
Yeah.
That's my
So,
personal.
obviously, we're also talking about AI or just generally chatbots, SMS, AI assistants. We're talking about it from the lens of there's like the two-part marketplace. There's the businesses that utilize this functionality, and there's the end users that are the recipients of this messaging. We haven't. I am like I guess I'm kind of curious, like maybe before, like AI assistants, like how do those really work, and how is it? I can honestly, the reality is that I don't even understand an AI assistant. What is an AI assistant?
Yeah, absolutely. So AI assistants can range. So something similar with a chat bot, but it's got an AI component on the back end to an assistant that's taking over and helping out. You walk you through in a process. So an example, Amtrak, the train service, they have an AI, a virtual AI assistant that you can chat with called Julie. And it takes the place of you talking with a human, but it's there and it's available 24/7. It answers 5 million questions every year. By implementing this, they saved $1 million in customer expenses. They had, which was an 800% ROI from the implementation of this AI communication. And the results in their business, they had a 25% increase in bookings. It generated 30% more revenue because the AI is able to pull information from all over instantaneously. It's not driven by emotion, it's driven by data points. It can be trained, it can be adopted. And so in situations like that, it really excelled, in these different avenues. So, but they invested a lot of money in this to make sure that this AI-driven chatbot was going to be phenomenal. So that's really what I think they're talking about primarily when they're talking about an AI assistant. Your co-pilot, for instance, is an AI assistant, right? It helped you write the articles and things like that for this. And so there's some exciting stuff that's coming out as a result of it, and it's just making things more and more productive.
And you hit rightfully so, like the bottom line components for Amtrak, the savings, the additional bookings and everything. I would also venture to say that for the end users, they're probably just happier. They've experienced like a better experience at the end of the day to the Amtrak service just for that ease of communication and functionality. I think anybody that I assume that it's clear on Amtrak's website that it's you're communicating with Julie's AI chatbot. So I think that like people also understand, okay, like, there may be some issues with this communication, but hey, if I get the answer that I need, I'll be happy. And I think for the quality of life of everyday commuters and everything or vacationing, I think that's fantastic. I anticipate they probably like think more favorably upon Amtrak after getting quick, reliable information versus calling, waiting on hold, and hoping to get in touch with somebody. And at that point, their train already arrived or something like that.
Absolutely. Or sitting there, yeah, trying to navigate through a website and forums and trying to read things. But you hit on something I just want to bring back around, and that's that with all of this technology, AI, and that transparency builds trust, right? Amtrak doesn't try to say this is a human back here. They very clearly market that this is an AI assistant, right? And that's important. You need to have that open communication around that you're talking to AI, but also this is what we're doing with your data and all of that as well, because that maintains customer trust. The issue that you had talked about earlier, and I have as well, is sometimes we're chatting with something, we have no idea if it's AI or a human. And that's a problem. None of us want to be tricked by a business by saying, "Oh, we got you. You thought it was a real human, but it was an AI bot." That's not a business we want to deal with. But if you tell us up front, "Hey, this is an AI driven chatbot that we're chatting with," most of us are going to be fine with that. And the few that aren't, can figure out a different solution to the problem.
So how long have like these chatbots have been around for a while in some form and function? To your point, you mentioned like really kind of hitting on the keywords. AI assistants, I guess, it kind of fall into a little bit of that category as well. It feels to me over the past, let's call it maybe year or two, that like AI from like a front page of the newspaper has really been more prominent. Previously, it was a little bit more VR, AR. I don't know. Tell me if you could completely disagree, but like I'm kind of speaking this just like from my own lens. But like would you say like 2024 was 2024 like is it the year of like AI exploding or like AI awareness or AI adoption? Like it feels like it hit like a critical point, and then recently it feels like it kind of hit a little bit more of a critical mass. Like, is that what you're finding?
Yeah, yes. So I think it was probably around 2022, 2023 that it really started taking off. I had one of the early versions of OpenAI, and I was using it back when it was just like API access. I was using it to like write emails and come up with quotes and ideas for things. And I didn't tell my employees about it initially. I just looked really, really smart, and I thought it was so cool. Yeah, but you had to be like a nerd back then because it was only through like API access. There wasn't the easy like chat interface that they ended up building out. So it's been a few years. The confusing part with AI is they've been using that terminology for a long time, right? Anything that seems cool and creative has AI, right? I have this webcam that like follows you around and it's got an AI thing right on it, so they even say that's AI. So they use that terminology loosely, but with OpenAI's large language model, I think that really kind of cracked it open for everybody. Yes, I do think you eventually reach a plateau with what it can do because more data is not always better. Oftentimes it adds more hallucinations and things like that. So I think you're going to start seeing it used in different capacities going forward. One of the things that they're starting to do more is personalizing it to you as an individual, which we already talked about the downsides to it. The good side to it is you have an AI chatbot that really understands what you're looking for and how to communicate just like you. So if you wanted to craft an email or put together a podcast layout, it's not just going to give you the generic run of the mill layout. It's going to give you the one for your specific podcast and the way you would do it, which is pretty cool. And then they're also coming out with new advanced features. I know OpenAI is just releasing their video creation tool where you can literally just type into it and it'll make you videos, which is pretty neat as well. And that's kind of the direction that we're going. Biggest concern over the next few years, how do you judge reality when things can be created so quickly around you? And that's the kind of scary part and why I think businesses need to be transparent when you're working with AI, because very soon it's going to be indistinguishable in just about every aspect of your life.
Yeah, yeah. It's confusing today. I mean, even just in terms of like, and I go a little bit more news related, where some of that stuff you're like, is that true? I don't know. It seems believable enough that you're like, that like it doesn't raise alarm bells initially, and there's no responsibility on anybody's end to disclose that something is made by a made by AI, or and like maybe somebody's not monitoring, like it's literally just they've built out like this functionality that's utilizing like say OpenAI, craft some articles, create some images and everything, and then they just set it to go to like potentially like as a content farm to like build out like some social media profiles or something, like I don't know, but like it's believable enough that like, I'm not surprised that a lot of people second guess themselves, and I'll include myself in that, where I'm like, wait, hold on, like I need to ask myself, is this accurate? Yeah, there's, I mean, and there's no global legislation really to police this. I draw parallels with I recently actually watched this movie on diamonds. I don't remember what it was, but it was speaking about kind of mine diamonds and lab made diamonds, and kind of where the organization kind of behind the diamond industry, they were trying to make sure that like that lab made diamonds, when they were put under certain lights, were glowing with a different fluorescence or something like that. And like first off, I'm pro lab made diamonds, I think it's like fantastic, but also on top of that as well, I putting the onus on the company doing the innovation, like good luck. I mean, really at the end, it's like good luck for people to actually do that, because it's like there's no laws, they're not incentivized to do that. And why would they, like, why would they want to make something different, or something that's add in a component to their process to make something obviously different? And I, it's the closest thing for me that I'm familiar with relating to like this conversation. It's like, I don't know, the people that are making these like this content, or these, these profiles that then have ultimately a lot of followers, like they are not incentivized. There are no laws making them, disclose that this stuff is AI. How do you police the world? Should you police the world? And these people would probably do it anyways. Like they're not trying, like I don't think necessarily everybody's trying to do this like above the law. So I have questions for what may happen in the future. And like, do you know of any initiatives trying to make it clear, or like say like when somebody is communicating with a chatbot that is powered by AI, is there any legislation or attempts at it? I mean, the government takes a little while to catch up, so I'm not surprised that there probably isn't anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the screenwriters just went through that whole strike and all of that
Right,
stuff,
right.
and part of their agreement was that AI was going to be used as an assistant. They could use it as an assistant, but it can't, completely take over the process and write it from scratch. Which we'll see how that does long term. I mean, hopefully it works out. My thing is more of the ethics of business practices than specifically the laws around it. So I think if you're not upfront about letting your customers know that it's AI they're dealing with, then it can end up hurting you in the long run,
Hmm.
right? And what processes you're doing around that. My wife is an author, and because there's so much AI generated content out there now, she
Hmm.
has to go out of her way to make sure that everyone knows that there's no part of her material that she used AI to generate. So, for instance, her cover or any of the art for her books, the guy that she has draw it, he does it digitally, but he
Hmm.
actually records the entire process that he's doing to draw it. So she can provide the
Wow.
video of him literally drawing it. So you can't say that was generated with AI. No, no, I can show you the video of the guy literally drawing the thing on his computer from
Interesting.
start to finish. Yeah.
Well, let
So
me ask you this. So, for example, like I'll sometimes draft up an email because, and this is like, I wonder in like the case also of your wife and her authorship, like, so I'll write up an email and sometimes I'll be like, my brain is not working today. I could use a little bit help with like clarity and like succinctness. So I'll like put that prompt in. I'm like, edit this for this. Um, and it'll shoot me out like a very similar version, just like with some tweaks and everything. And I wonder, like, does that fall into like created by AI as much as it was edited by AI? Because I do like that functionality for like just as a second set of eyes.
absolutely. And we've been using AI in a form of like Grammarly, right? I don't know if you use
Yeah.
Grammarly at all, but same type of thing, right? It's fixing my stuff all the time. You can say, well, it's AI doing it, but you're still putting together content, the idea, it's just cleaning it up, right? First of all, I use AI on a regular basis, and I would encourage anyone, especially in business, to use it regularly. All of my developers right now should be using AI on a regular basis because it 10x's their productivity. Same thing with generating content ideas. I sit there and I go back and forth with AI all the time when I'm figuring things out. Prior to this interview, I was even having a discussion with AI, right? And helping generate some of my ideas that I wanted to discuss on this call with you today. So AI is great when it's a tool that you use along with you. I think where it becomes problematic is when you're using AI to do everything for you. And then in that situation, you start to get away from the things that make you unique about your position or your brand or whatever it is that makes you you. Cleaning up what you're doing is fine, I think. And once again, this is my personal opinion. Use AI however you want, but with the way you're doing it, I think it's fantastic because it's still you speaking. It's just a little bit polished up. You just put on your Sunday best, right?
Yeah, I like that version. So this might be like an unpopular question, and honestly, I don't know if I'll include in the edit. So let me know what you think. But I sometimes wonder, like let's call it United States specifically. GDP has skyrocketed. We're producing more and more. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call it all good value, but like it's produced.
Yeah.
My question, like, I sometimes wonder, I'm like, we're producing all this. Like, is the intent for more, more, more? Or is the intent like, will there be a point in time where I don't know, we do away with like let's call it like this 40-hour work week. If we can utilize tools and functionality that still enrich our lives. While I say that, I also mean like the value of everybody's hour will be like, you talk about your developers like 10x their productivity. And I guess I wonder like, will the 40-hour work week kind of turn into like a 20-hour work week? At what point is enough in terms of like I don't know what we're gaining in terms of like product or like product that we're releasing. I realize this is a messy question and I'm not really sure how to frame it properly, but like I probably should have put it into AI to clean up clearly. But like,
You're good. You got
will this
a
help
few
out our
things though
future?
that
Yeah, they're dicey.
yeah, a few things that I want to comment on that. So first, yeah, US has currently roughly double the GDP of the entire European Union,
I didn't know that.
right? So we've grown massively. If you look at the number of trillion-dollar companies that we have in the US, it's massive and we're growing. We're going to continue to grow. And there's a lot of reasons for that, without getting into like politics and business ethics and things like
Exactly. That's
that.
exactly why it's a landmine.
Yeah, so I'm going to stay away from that. But the thing there's a quote by F. Scott Fitzgerald that I talk about, and it's the test of first rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposing ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. Okay. And I like that mindset of thinking because I look at both sides of a situation like that. Like you say, okay, the GDP of US is double that of Europe. We're winning. Well, are we? Well, let's look at like the quality of life statistics because they paint a different picture. The quality of life in these European countries is significantly better for the average citizen than it is in the United States, right? So we need to look at the full picture here. One of the reasons why business growth has been restricted in the European Union is because a lot of the labor practices and things like that that they have that are in turn helping the average citizen. So there's kind of a duality to that as well. And when we started off this interview, I was talking a little bit about balance. That's something that I think more people need to incorporate in their life. When I started out as an entrepreneur, the thing that got me successful was my nonstop work ethic, working like 70 hours
Right.
nonstop. And then I built this business and I started, was delegating things off to people and I was still burning the candle at both ends, working nonstop. And then I looked back and I said, why am I doing this? I don't need to follow up with this person. They're doing a great job. I don't need to do this. I don't have to constantly be busy and working. But what I had was this weird anxiety. I almost felt guilty for not working. And it took time and meditation and a bunch of other things to kind of work through that and understand that I can have a separation from work. I can be managed based on my productivity that once things are done, I can enjoy life. And so I say people, it's all about balancing life. And if we don't address that mindset, then no, we'll always find a way to fill that void working 70 hours a week, whether it's necessary or not.
At the very beginning of our call, you touched on the next, like there was something future related. I forgot what the terminology you used was, but that's beyond quantum, something quantum, was it quantum, some
I'm
quantum learning?
computing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, can we talk about quantum computing a little bit and like how that plays into communication in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So quantum computing is entirely different because right now it's more of a, let's call it like a science experiment, but that's really where everything starts off. Needs to be set at absolute zero to work and that sort of thing. But Google and China are doing some crazy things with it right now and some really insane advancements. And on the one hand, with the security standpoint, when you look at the encryption on the internet right now, it's comprised primarily of a math formula. And it's that the math formula is so complex that it would take our current computer thousands or millions of years to complete that, right? But the way that quantum computing functions, that same math problem can be done in seconds with a quantum computer. So you just think about how exponentially fast that is compared to what we have today. And then put that in the context of what it can do for AI. Well, that's incredible. We will see advances like we've never seen before. And I think you look past like back over the past 20 years and you see the advancements that we've made so far. They're not really linear, right? It's not like one plus one plus one, right? It multiplies, right?
Yeah.
It's
1 + 1 goes
exponential.
to 1,000. You're like, where did we get?
Because then we would just figure out new ways to advance the horse-drawn cart, right? Things like that. We would have slow advancement. But you see this ramp up that we have. So we have new technology that creates faster technology. And that's what we're seeing with quantum computing right now. We haven't even scratched the surface of it. It's an experiment. But over in China, they did recently crack some RSA encryption. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Wait, real
But
quick. What
when
does
they start
RSA
coupling
stands?
that,
What does RSA
what's
stand
that?
for? What's RSA stand for?
I
Or
think it's
what is
the
it even?
acronyms that created it.
Okay.
RSA encryption. Yeah, it's Rivest Shamir Adelman encryption. So it's a public key
So the
encryption
quantum
algorithm.
computing broke his encryption method or whatever. Did I understand that right?
Yeah, it was a low. I think it maybe was 16-bit encryption or something like that. So it was a low bit encryption, but it proves the concept of what's out there. And our entire infrastructure, not to get too scary, but our entire infrastructure is built on encryption. The fact that you can log into a website, make phone calls, do all that stuff, and somebody can't just intercept that. Think about this, for instance, right? You're communicating wirelessly through your cell phone to a tower. What's to prevent somebody from picking up that wireless signal and listening to your phone call? Well, the thing that's preventing it is that encryption, right? Because anybody could pick up a wireless signal. It's going over the sky, right? Look in World War II, right? They'd intercept all the time, right? And then they came out with what was that thing they came out with the Nazis or whatever. But the point is nowadays we have better encryption, but it's all still a math formula. But as this quantum computing comes out, it breaks all of that. So now we have to develop quantum safe encryption to prevent it from being broken on that. We took a left turn on there because we were talking about AI, but
No,
that is one
no,
of the
no,
things
it's
I
good.
think.
But I get how you're saying that like in the future, like that's going to support and ultimately like how like things are just gonna, skyrocket with this AI component and it's yet to be seen. I'm an advocate and enthusiastic for innovation. We've seen it in I mean, we've talked about diamonds. We've seen it in IVF, and people have plenty of questions around these things and the efficacy and the responsibility of of scientists and what the implications of some of these things will be. So I think like I think we've proven historically how there's a bit of a vigor around questioning the validity or the how we go about these things in good and bad ways. I
Yeah,
anticipate we'll apply like the same question and rationale and uh and just like overall questions to what's to come with quantum computing and how that impacts AI in the future as well.
exponentially advances it, and it advances a lot of other things in the field as well. Everything from medicine to material science to cryptography. It's all going to be advanced.
So Phil, I mean, it's been a really enlightening conversation for me. How can listeners find you or Textdrip, like any final ways that people can follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. So philportman.com is my personal website. You're welcome to check it out. You'll see also links to my podcast, the Successes podcast, where I interview people from a variety of different backgrounds and have some really interesting stories. Textdrip.com, you can go check that out. If you are interested in trying out Textdrip.com and you're a listener to this podcast, just let customer service know that you heard this on this podcast, and we'll give you 3,000 free credits and 60 days free to try it out,
Awesome.
just for listening to this. So
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring. Join the Idea Citizen LinkedIn group and share this episode with a friend.